Well, hello again. How's it going? Nice to see you. So, let's begin. I really like what you did last week in that you sort of broke our cycle of recommending bands, and maybe it's time to have a different kind of conversation. I think that might be a fruitful avenue. I mean, I think eventually you and I are going to run out of bands to recommend, kind of. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a lot of bands that you and I both listen to that are fantastic, but we're not going to recommend them to each other because we both know that we're already aware of them. It would be like me recommending the Beatles or something like that to you and you coming back with like the Rolling Stones. So kudos to you, sir. But let's get into the heart of the matter. I don't think that any of the bands that you put onto your playlist from last week are punk music in as far as I understand the term. And let me see if I can kind of explain my thinking to you. So, it's tough, because music is allowed to change, of course, and would I, even if I said it wasn't, it's not like I could control that sort of thing. When I think about punk music, I think about politically conscious music made basically before 1990. I would probably say that Nirvana sort of moved the needle so that anybody who was inspired by punk music after Nirvana probably can't call it punk music anymore, because Nirvana sort of popularized a very punk ethic and made it no longer punk. So I suppose maybe in some level I feel like punk music has to be outsider music. It can be popular in a circle of people, but once sort of Nevermind brought all of music along for the ride and sort of said, no, this is the sound that's legitimate, I think sort of being able to be called punk kind of went out the window. I don't presume that opinion is any more or less valid than your opinion or Matt Becker's or anyone else's. I just think that it's no longer possible to be making punk music in that sense. You can have punk sensibilities, but I don't think that you really can be truly punk anymore. So that's my take on it. I'm going to give you a whole bunch of music that I think is unqualified punk music, but you'll notice that nothing on this list comes from after 1990. Such is life. Maybe it's a function of my age. Maybe I'm just like, those damn kids, stay off of my music lawn. And I'll cop to that if that's what you're going to accuse me of. Save yourself the effort. I will certainly say that my perspective is rooted in my experiences and my thinking about these kinds of things. But I just feel like if you take a band like the Sex Pistols or the Dead Kennedys and you hold it up to something like Taking Back Sunday or My Chemical Romance or any of those bands that my wife, not me, my wife terms the whiny white boy crowd, that you can't really hold those two things as equal examples of a musical genre. You can call it emo, you can say that you're inspired by punk music, but I think to call it punk music is no longer a possibility. Yeah. I'd also like to call out, since you called out Green Day, and I think you're entitled, they're very old at this point and probably should stop. But I would also like to call out Blink-182, because I feel like Blink-182 took whatever sort of political consciousness was still in the music and just threw it out the window and turned punk music into unabashedly pop music. And for that, I will never forgive them, though I never actually cared about them to begin with. So it all works out. I was thinking, where's the first punk moment in all of music? And so I was thinking about this, like, is it, the Sex Pistols come on the scene? And I actually think it goes back a ways before. And I would actually point to Mr. Robert Zimmerman the great Bob Dylan himself and his decision to take his folk music and electrify it. And so I guess the decision to plug in at Newport, or possibly the famous Judas concert, which of course is Bootleg Series Volume 4, right? I think that is probably, I would say, the first punk moment in all of music. Check it out. If you haven't listened to that, the Royal Albert Hall Bootleg Series, check out the second disc on that. It is incredible. And I think that is much more indicative or evocative of punk than anything that's around these days. All right, my friend. So not so much going on around here. I was tutoring New York City kids in AP Bio yesterday. And then it's back to school. Back to school. 6 weeks until the AP exam. And I believe you're going off to the Galapagos shortly, aren't you? Galapagos. Ho. All right. Take it easy. Let me know what you think. Bye.
I don't believe you. You're a liar.